Hi, welcome down to the Devon Koi Pond on this lovely winter's morning. Sun out today. Absolutely atrocious day yesterday. Gale force winds, rain all day. We had about 3, nearly 4 inches of rain. Absolutely terrible here. But I battened down the pond on Friday, so everything sort of stayed together down here. But Sunday today, it's kind of making up for it. Clocks went back last night. I'm always a little bit in advance with the videos, so you'll be seeing this in probably about a week and a half to 2 weeks time. So today I've got a couple of little things that you ought to do to your pond just to make sure as well for the winter, and I'm going to show you the little finishing touches I've done. Fish are quite happy. Pond's been holding over 14 all week, just under 15 a couple of days, but this morning we'll have a look and see what it is. Fish are feeding on wheat germ now. They've eaten the last of the summer food that went into kind of a 50-50 mix that they polished off sort of last Monday or Tuesday, and they're just on wheat germ now. I'll go into food a little bit more in a week or two's time, what kind of wheat germ I feed them. But, they're quite active. Pond's really steaming at the moment compared to the air. The air temperature's down around 7 or 8. Sun's out, it's warming up nicely, but the pond temperature, let's pop over and have a look and see what that is. Fish are quite happy. Just lobbed that handful of wheat germ in, so they'll pick that off. You might still be able to see the steam coming off the water. I'm unheated, so let's see what the temperature is over here today. They're all looking quite happy. They've had a good week with the covers on. And the water's still warm enough for them to be quite active. So let's actually see what the temperature is over here. So off we go. Ooh, 14.2. Not too bad. The pumps are slowed down. It's about half their speed now. I've got about 4,000 litres an hour going through at the moment, but as it gets colder I'll slow it down even more. Cover on the veg filter stayed on in the gales yesterday, and I've also put the sheet over the top of the filter pit. I've got here, that's not screwed down yet. I've just got the buckets and cans there with water in them, just weighting it down. I've got some screws to slip in it, but I will need to sort it out so I can still lift the lid up, because I've got to do my weekly clean in a minute. The fish are looking well happy here. So there's a couple of little things that I'm going to pop into this week's video that you need to be looking at. That's kind of two things that get overlooked. One of them being your air pumps. Now, your air pumps, they get a hard life. They're run 24/7, and they do need a little bit of looking after. People seem to neglect them, but you need to pop the caps off them from time to time. Get in, take a piece of wool out or matting that's the air filter, and replace it, or wash it, clean it, and put it back in. Stop the dust getting into your pumps. Look after them. If they're outside for the winter, put the box over the top of them. Allow a bit of air to get in, but you don't want the rain on them. The other thing being your chlorine filters. Now, your chlorine filters, if they're outside left on a hose, they need moving, so they're either covered with a box, because they will freeze, and if they freeze up they will blow apart and split. I know this because I left one outside one year, really bad, froze up, boom, split, and that was it, game over. And at £40 a pop, they're certainly not cheap, and you don't want to be replacing them. But it's also a good time to swap out the cartridges in them, get that done, because this is the time of year to prep things. So I'll whip you over now. We'll have a quick look at the dechlorinator I got up the side of the house, which I moved down to here and goes into my filter house, and then I'll give you a quick cast over the air pumps. I've already swapped the filters in the air pumps, but I'll give you a look at them. They're underway. I run 2 air pumps normally, one for cleaning the easy pods, it's just used for cleaning them, and a 70 litre one that runs all the time, pushing air into the pond and air into the moving beds. But the fish still seem quite lively this morning, and they like this wheat germ, and I'll happily feed them down to about 6 or 7 degrees. Got no problem with that. This is Sadie, my big girl. Got a little bit of a bend in her and a little bit of a tail problem. She floats a bit tail up in the air after a lightning strike a good few years back, where she suffered a bit. But she's a happy girl, the biggest girl in the pond. As you can see, the water is still clear. I'm not using filter wool now at this time of the year. It's just not worth it. Might get an odd person or two round over look at the fish, but I'll just bring the cover up, and a few fines in the water I'm not going to worry about. So let's pop over and have a quick look at the air pumps, do that, and then I'll cast you over to the dechlorinators. See you in a second. So here are my 3 air pumps. This is my main pump, 70 litre. This one runs the moving bed and the pond. I've got a backup here that's actually plugged in, ready to go. I can just swap an airline over if I need to service this one. And this one will now run all the way through the winter, pumping air for the moving beds and a bit of air into the pond. The old boy here, which I got off a mate that retired his pond, it's an absolute beast of a pump. That one there runs just the cleaning on the easy pods. So bang, it just comes on with the remote control when I want to clean the pods. So that's all that one gets used for. But these pumps, take the top off them and actually clean the woolen inside them 2 or 3 times a year. It's not going to hurt you, and it can save you buying new diaphragms for your pumps. You don't want dirt getting into them. And they run 24/7, so they need a little bit of maintenance, and people neglect them terribly. Okay, so here we are over with one of the most neglected items for a winter, your dechlorinator. Now this one does not want leaving outside. It needs to go into a box or into a shed or something like that. If you're on a trickle feed, it has got a slow amount of water running through it, but this really is a good time to change the cartridges now before it gets too cold. I change them out about 4 times a year. This one now will get taken out of the line. I'll swap the cartridges over and I'll put it into the line further on down, actually in my little filter shed down by the pond. I've got 2 of these in the system, so the water runs through 2 of them, but this one will get plugged in literally to the end of the other one down the system, so it's running through that and it's in and covered. Now the hose down through the side here might well freeze up in the winter. I'm not running water down through it all the time, just when I'm topping the pond up, but it usually drains itself down. Once I turn the tap off up here, it drains itself down through to the bottom, so it usually stays free unless it gets too cold. But don't neglect this item. If you leave it outside and it freezes up, it will split and blow apart if it's got water in it. So put it in a box or keep it inside until you're using it if it has to be outside, or keep it in a shed. So this is the plastic cover I've got over the top of my filter pit at the moment. You can see in the side of the veg filter here, it's always dripping with condensation, which is nice, means it's nice and warm in there. So the covers are pushed out. If it's at all windy I can't open them this much, but they stand going halfway quite happily. So looks like I'll probably end up scooping a bit of this food out. It was a good pot full. They've eaten 3/4 of it, but I'll give it another few minutes yet, and then I'll take out what's they haven't touched. Don't put in more than what they'll eat, because it'll just float round and get into your filters and not do them any good. So only feed them what they'll eat. I probably went a little bit too heavy this morning and then spooked them with the covers and me bouncing around down here, because it's been quiet from down here all week. I've only had the covers open a couple of days. Hi. Well, hope you enjoyed that little look round. Okay, I'm all winterized down here now. I'm happy I can sail into the winter. A few more screws to put in that cover over the top of the filter pit there, the vortex, just to make sure the plastic has stayed down. But we had gales yesterday and it's held itself all together, so I'm happy. The fish look happy. They're polishing off the last of those pellets there now, so I'm not going to be fishing them out. I'll go into foods in a couple of weeks on the wheat germ and such like. Now, if you've got an easy pod, right, I have a few spare discs to go in the centre of them, including one I made for James the other day, who then decided the pod wasn't for him. But I've got some spare discs, right, that I've made. I will do a competition for a disc for the centre of an easy pod if there's enough interest in it. And by interest I mean we need 5 or 10 of you interested at least. If there is, and put a comment down in the comment section on this video, and I'll run up a competition for a centre disc for the easy pod, and it'll be the one that I made for James, all nicely engraved with Devon koi on it and everything. So I'll do that in a competition in a couple of weeks if there's enough interest in it. So from down here in Devon, enjoy your winter ponding. Beautiful day today. Might even get to sit down here a bit after dinner, tote the rest of the wine bottle down. You never know. So catch you all later. Bye for now.